Mason, Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Deborah Pietsch. Hi, Deborah. How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Yes, and it worked out just so perfectly for the timing. So I'm really excited. So I have been emailing my list a little bit about this wonderful event that Deborah's going to be putting on. But first, let's introduce you to Deborah. Deborah originally was a movie producer, and she had a big awakening, and then her life. I've watched a really good friend of mine as she's transformed under Deborah's work. So, Deb, why don't you tell the story so I don't mess it up?
Okay, so yeah, I was basically guided back in 1980. I moved to LA from Pennsylvania. I was a country bumpkin, and thinking I was going to be an LA cop. This is back in 1986.
Yeah.
And in '87, by the time I'd been there, within the first year, I was going to college, working. I was very young. I just left home, and I realized after meeting a few police officers and touring the academy and everything, that was not going to be for me, and especially the LA awakening. Right? LA versus country bumpkin. And so I ended up falling into the entertainment industry in a very, very unusual way. I will say unusual because back then I didn't have the kind of synchronicities that I'm aware of now, right? It was very much a destiny situation. And so once I fell into the entertainment industry, I actually was I really started to expand my awareness. And then in '87, I was in a personal development seminar, and this was very intense work for like 2 weeks. And I had a pretty profound awakening where literally I had a transmission of information come through as if somebody was sitting next to me talking. I was asking questions. My life was laid out. I was told why I had moved to LA, why the doors to the entertainment industry had opened up, what I was going to be doing with the entertainment industry, creating conscious media and assisting people in awakening experientially like I was experiencing in this personal development seminar. That was awakening number one. So as I had the two parallel for the next 2 decades almost, basically, through the late '80s, all through the '90s, and the early 2003, 4. So I was on 2 parallel tracks. One was to do everything I could in the entertainment industry to continue to elevate my knowledge. And then also because I knew I was going to have a production company someday, I needed to learn a lot of different things, and my conscious awareness awakening simultaneously. So I was trying to get shows off in Hollywood. I was trying to get shows off the ground as I was producing commercials and music videos and different things. Film. I was trying to get shows off the ground, like called Conscious Choice. That was one of my shows back through the '80s and all through the '90s. That wasn't happening. Now I understand why. Right now, hindsight, how far ahead of the curve I was, plus all of the energies that have really taken over Hollywood in such a big way, right? And what Hollywood to me represents is media. Right. So then I had very challenging years in between. And in about 2009, after several years of very, very challenging stuff, which I won't get into the detail here, but it led me because none of my spiritual tools that I had been taught were working. I was an early student of Abraham and creating reality and law of attraction. All of that, right? I was with Abraham, like I did a couple private sessions with her before she blew up, right?
Right.
None of those spiritual tools were working for me. So I was like at my wit's end. Money the way I was used to manifesting. And I was in 3 years, I would say, of like major, like, what the frick? I normally say the other, but I don't want to what I normally would say, right? What basically. And it led me to actually do something pretty drastic. And that was I got some insight. Now, the other thing is, I was actually telepathic. I was receiving communications by then, and I was being told about these dark force energies, and so I ended up leaving LA. I had a motorhome in storage there. I took it up to the Ashland area, Ashland, Oregon area.
Yeah.
And I was going to leave it up there in storage because I was like, I don't want to get rid of the motorhome, but it was costing me $200 a month just to store it in LA and versus $30 in Ashland. And I was like, and then I got up there and I started having some pretty profound experiences. Now, I had already been doing some things in Mount Shasta, and I ended up staying up there. I was invited to live and park my motorhome on a horse sanctuary, 22 acres horse sanctuary. And I grew up riding horses and, showing and all that at my very young age. And I spent a year and a half. I did go back and forth. I still was working with clients because I had an agency. I was doing web development and internet strategies. And my telepathic abilities and my communication and my multidimensional just totally opened up like a tin can.
Yeah.
That's when I was being told about and taught by God and my guides all about the dark force energy, satanic ritual, all the things that people are now starting to understand and realize how much this evil is coming out in our reality, right? How to clear it, how to teach people how to clear it. So that's the foundation of my spiritual teaching. So I moved from being just a producer and an entrepreneur. I had an agency called Living Light Agency. So talk about conscious business, right? I was working with healers and people that were, because I was also a producer of a radio show called The Aware Show. And I was her first producer. I'm not sure if you know who Lisa Garr is.
Yes, of course.
I was her first producer. So way back in the day, right? She's been on the air for like 2 decades now, right? And so I had all those people, like Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, they were all getting the normal guests on the show. So I created an agency and I was used to having success. I was used to manifesting. And then as my light started to go out there in the world, that's when I had all these challenges, right? Really started when I was starting to really promote with PR marketing, these people that were here, that I met through the show and all doing different things, the Conscious Life Expos and all of that. And so the challenges that I had, I realized were out of my wheelhouse of understanding. So that's why I made the decision to go and live out of my motorhome. Everything shifted. And so by the time I spent about a year and a half understanding what was going on, being taught what I was being taught, going through my own very, very deep alchemical transformation of consciousness and awareness, I started doing private sessions with people and basically tuning in for their guides, clearing blocks, working with energy. And then I opened up to be an activator. And I didn't even know what that was. And I had to be taught about that. So these questions with people, and Victoria, the friend that introduced us, she was one of my first clients that I activated back in November 2010, November 2010. And immediately she became like multidimensional and, changed a lot of things in her life. Now it's taken, 10 years because she had some stalls, right? The people can have some very profound shifts and changes very, very quickly. It just really, it's like anything. How much are you going to engage with it? How much are you going to move forward? So that's where I'm at right now. So so in our you and I meeting, that I have been very, very committed to. And this is in the big picture because I was introduced early on to the Jasara information and also the currencies associated with the revaluations. And this has been one of my another entire, like a third path that I've been committed to. So there's the media, there's spirituality, there's the multidimensional aspect, and then there's the currency. and how we are going to transcend this matrix, which is one of the brands. And that's why we have this backdrop. We just had this made because my husband Scott and I have like 5-6 different companies, brands, and you just can't put it all under one umbrella, right?
Except your name.
Yeah, your name, exactly. So basically where we're at is where one of the things is, how do we transcend? How do we transcend from this? And what he and I are now really bringing forward, because we think we're right at the tip of the iceberg here of some serious prosperity changes happening in the world. But you've got to engage with that.
Right.
You've got to engage with it proactively, just like you engage brushing your teeth every day. Right? Okay, there's my background.
Wow. Okay, so I'm so excited because this is the perfect format for the audience to understand what they can do to help with the change, because we're going, and I've said this, it seems like a lot, but we're going from this male dominated out of integrity system, which has had war and inequality, to this new era. And 2022 is going to be incredible. All the astrologers and everybody's saying it. But how do you get the mindset from here to there? Well, we're very powerful beings. And so part of this is awakening to your own superpowers so that you are projecting the reality you want. But the other is the self-worth and the self-love and the process of creating that new world is it's a whole different matrix. And we're not, the people that have been doing the work for a long time, they realize we're not in a matrix anymore. But but a lot of people, especially if they're doing day-to-day work, they have a family, they have kids going to college. I mean, that 3D aspect isn't all there is. Let's put it that way. So,
well, here's what I will say in regards to the 3D versus higher dimensional frequency living and engaging, is that I don't know. Okay, we're in a situation where we're in a transition, the Great Awakening transition. We have to have the ability to traverse right now and still dabble in that infrastructure of the enslavement matrix, the transcend the matrix, because right now that's what in order to go to the bank, that is that's an enslavement matrix construct, a business, a way of, right? Okay.
It's the old system, basically. It's the old system that is totally based on inequality.
Absolutely. And completely infiltrated and really based on enslaving people through that monetary system and all the corruption and all the rigging that has been done over the decades and eons, utilizing money, which is our trade source for the most part, right? And enslaving us. And so now what we need to do is be able to traverse, be able to use those systems, but become masterful at identifying what they are, what they stand for, and don't give them our energy. But additionally, what we're doing is we are establishing new businesses, new ways of engaging that really are being forced. It's like, this is a really bad visual just to say, it's not pretty, but when you think of a zit and you pop a zit and the dust comes out, right?
Yeah.
That's really what we're in right now. And with all of the stuff that's going on with the different elements out there, right? All the crap is being shown. It's being pushed to the surface. The light's being shown on it and it's being pushed to the surface. Now we can start to actually identify the evil, identify the things that are going on, identify where we need to have healing, and definitely where we need to and can unify, right?
Right.
Because that there's a great divide, there's a great division that's occurring into our sovereignty, and consciousness. Your show is all about conscious business. Consciousness is the key to all of this.
Right.
Consciously choosing how you're going to step forward every moment, every day, and what are you going to engage with. And here's one of the things that I've really been starting to say to people is that pull yourself out of what's going on and circulating in the world of the news.
Right.
Have you lost focus on what your heart's desires are, who you are here to be, what your purpose is, what your incarnation destiny is? Are you focused on survival and fear, or are you focused on co-creating and manifesting? Because those are two very different focal points and energies. And the controllers and the handlers in this enslavement matrix want people to be disempowered and basically dysfunctional and broken.
Well, it's interesting. I've done 3 years of these conversations, and this is the first time I'm being blocked on a couple of my pages on Facebook.
Right now?
Just 2 of them. So there's 6 other places it's going, but just so, 'cause I keep getting messages. But anyway,
It's blocked.
yeah. Yeah, they don't, I mean, not everybody wants this conversation, that's all. But it's gonna happen. And the thing is do you want to create the new world? Do you want
Yeah.
to create the new world? Do you want to create heaven on earth? Do you want to be a part of the solution? Do you want to get excited because it's happening? We've already won. The light is already won. Let's see what you get to play with that. So rather than putting energy into fear, into, oh my gosh, I've got to stock up and have a basement full of water and food, all of that, which, if that gives you peace, do some of that. But the idea of focusing on that creates it, right?
Well, here's what I will say to that. A couple things, and I'm sorry because I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on some of
Oh,
it.
okay. That's all right.
So the guidance that I have gotten, and I'm going to go back to something too that a lot of people over the years. So when I first started talking about infiltration and dark force energies, I first came out with that in November of 2010. To an email list that I had because of all these people that I had been supporting and promoting back then. And my headline was not, what if 9/11 was a satanic ritual? And back then, that was 2010, right? Actually, literally like 11 years ago now. What is that? 11? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're on your things on 11/11.
My activation, 11/11 activation for activating codes of prosperity, because we've got, okay, I'll come back to that in a sec. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people that did not subscribe because they were like, what the frick is this? And they didn't want to hear it. And there's a lot of light workers and a lot of people that are here. They're here to do great work, and they're doing great work. And a lot of them don't want to deal with this dark force energy. But but we're seeing it. We're seeing it play out everywhere, right? The reason I'm bringing this up is because we have got to become masterful. What I was being taught over the years about this dark force energy and how to clear it, how to transmute it, how to transcend it then as well, but really clearing it was becoming masterful at engaging with those dark force energies so that they don't have any power over me or around me, right?
Right.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's several reasons. One is becoming about masterful, right? We are here to become masterful beings of light, warriors of light, right? But in addition to that, it's like, because I got the guidance, we're going through the storm is about to hit. This just came in yesterday. The storm is about to hit. Now, 2 months ago, I also got the guidance, definitely stock up, because, and it's not out of fear, it's just out of being proactive, right? Let's be proactive, because the shit is about to hit the fan. And if you are, and those of us that are here to be the warriors of light as we move through this transition and this storm hits, if you are in survival and you're like going, oh my gosh, the grocery store is like, I can't get water, I can't get, eggs or whatever, of course you can do without for however. But if you have what you need now, and you're doing it in a proactive, like, woohoo, I'm just stocking up, right? Because someday I'm having a big party.
Yeah.
Then it's a different vibration. It's a different energy of like, oh my gosh. And here's the other thing I just want to say on the cusp of all this is that many of us have known that things have to change in this world, right?
Right.
In order, and Kathy, you've said it several times, in order for us to create a new world, a new reality, a new earth, something's got to give. We've got to have some serious transformation and things changing in order for us to do that. So that pus that's come out of that, the wounds that are being shown, the dark force energies that are being shown, we knew something that this time was going to come. We just didn't necessarily know what it's going to look like.
Right.
So how do we consciously move through this transition?
Right. Well, the first thing is working on yourself, because the internal, we're creating the hologram. We create our own hologram, and then we play and create a collective hologram.
Right.
And so that's part of what your work is brilliant for, is to work on your own hologram, so that it's clear and clean, and the more clear and discordant energies that can be released from your field,
absolutely,
hold your soul.
Absolutely. And you brought up at the very beginning, and I haven't talked about self-worth in years. You brought up self-worth. And I actually just, when I was tuning in a couple of weeks ago and was on a webinar with some people, what came through was about self-worth. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and I thought at the time, I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because I haven't talked about self-worth for a long, long time. And I think that this is really important, because humanity is being bombarded with these frequencies of domination, control, fear, and also, and this is also for the men. You also brought up about the men and the patriarchal.
Right.
Okay, the divine feminine has been the controllers of the world, whatever is backing that, they've been at war with the divine feminine for eons, right? We used to be partners, eons ago. We were partners, men and women, and how we move forward in our evolution. Uh-huh. And at some point that shifted, and this patriarchal control came into being. What I believe is also occurring, and I think you started just to touch on this, is that, and I'm going to circle back to the self-worth in a moment, is that the divine feminine is now starting to step forward again. Yeah. And it's the mama bears, it's the especially because of what's being done with the children. Both the children that are missing, and also the children that are being now 5-year-old, and they can do that thing that we don't talk about. Right. So the mamas are stepping forward in that in a big, big, huge way. So out of this this pus that's coming out, there's diamonds that are also coming out too, right? We are rising out of the phoenix, the ashes of the phoenix, and this is this. So not to be a victim to what I'm about to say, because this dark force energy has been very, very traumatizing. And what I say to people for years is that it's like living. It's like you think you're in a game of baseball, but you're actually in a game of football.
Yeah.
And the tackle football are the non-physical energies, including the things that are put out in the airwaves, the chemtrails, the different things that are going on with it, and the entities and the things that have been conjured, the satanic ritual, and how it affects your day-to-day life. So we know we create our reality. We know as glory of God beings, we create our reality. But, and this is why I prefaced it with, this is not about being a victim. There have been forces and things that we haven't seen that have affected our ability to create reality.
Right.
And I now am being reminded to go back to self-worth, because I'm really, with all the work I've done, that is not in my, it's not in my experience anymore, right? But this is really important for people to understand. The self-worth is so important for you to value yourself. And this is where we have been pelted with energies of disempowerment, and especially emasculating for the male that can't go get a job right now because things are such a mess.
Right.
But we have to engage with self-worth and take that flashlight and identify anywhere in your thoughts, in your consciousness, in your beingness, where your self-worth might not be like, I'm a freaking rock star, awesome warrior of light, being here to like kick butt through this transition.
Well, we stood in lines to get these bodies to be here right now during this big change. And so the more of the opportunity is, okay, game on. What that's what I saw as soon as the lockdown happened. It was like, game on. Okay, now what do you want me to do? The other thing I wanted to go back to, the divine feminine, divine masculine. I think I've owned my own business on and off my whole adult life.
Right.
I had to, and I mean, I ran a division of Arthur Anderson. I had my own $1 million clothing store.
Oh, wow.
I was 28 years old. But I had to be a man, I mean, I still wore a skirt and everything, but I had to learn all of those traits to participate, to play the game. And so I think there's a lot of people like me that are out of balance just as much as the men are with their divine masculine, divine feminine.
Absolutely.
Which is part of the work, right?
Yeah. It's really interesting that you brought that up, because one thing that I'll say, and here's the thing, you said I needed to become a man. So I'm going to say what you actually did is you called forward your masculine,
right?
Which is being productive, being like, there's all sorts of things we can throw into the mix to label that, right?
Right. Well, it's a doer, and it's a very proactive and manifesting. Like when you were talking about manifesting, that's not the womb taking it in. It's the push it out and see what you can create. So it's alchemy at a level, whether you realize it or not. But it's at a balance. It isn't necessarily, and that's what I see in what's being transmuted now, is that out of balance.
Yep. Absolutely. And I say that's interesting that you brought it up, because I hadn't thought about this also for a long time as well. And that is the experience that I went through back in 2009, where I did a three-night vision quest on Mount Shasta. Cool. I actually live at the base of Mount Shasta. We have a 5-acre spiritual retreat center now, Scott and I. But I did a 3-day, 3-night on my own, just out there in the woods. And one of the things that I went through in a very emotional experience was the marriage of my divine masculine and my divine feminine, right? And so this just came into my awareness again a few days ago because Scott and I are actually whiteboarding. We're getting ready to launch a bunch of things in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And so this the divine masculine, divine feminine, it's absolutely imperative that we get that back in balance and that we're in partnership. We have to have that energy and partnership within ourselves in order for us to actually see that manifest out into the physical world, right?
Exactly. Plus, if I believe co-creation is one of the highest opportunities right now.
Yes.
And the joyful, the playful, the rebelful, whatever. And so if your hologram that you're projecting isn't balanced, you're not gonna connect with somebody else. So we're all we are all one big being that wanted to differentiate in order to expand consciousness. But it's frequency. It's all frequency. And
Yep.
so, yeah, yeah.
Everything is energy and frequency.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about the changes that you've seen when you've worked with people like this? Because that's part of the reason why I brought up this balancing, because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're allowing someone to have soul body fusion. You
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I actually don't call it that, but I think that's a great way that is a great way to, it is one of the ways to describe it. So I brought up Victoria, who is our mutual friend,
Uh-huh.
and her first activation, she didn't believe in any of this. She actually came to me as a client for branding and marketing and web, right?
Yeah.
And I had not consciously done an activation with anybody. And in our second or third meeting, we had a very serendipitous situation occur, and I started bringing through. And I told her, I'm just getting the guidance to do this. I brought this activation energy through.
Yeah.
And when I do an activation, my mouth moves really fast. I actually don't want people to watch it because my mouth moves really fast. The light language comes through, the energy comes through. It can be really distracting because it's like, oh my God, how is she doing that? You know what I mean? And it's like, so when I do sessions and even when I do webinars for large groups, we usually turn the video to like just a picture of something, sacred geometry or something. And so Victoria went home that night after this activation. She was sobbing. I had my eyes closed. I opened my eyes. She was sobbing. And she was shaking. She was just shaking. She was sitting on a couch across the room. And she went home that night and she was taking a hot bath and she started getting communication. So she had a breakthrough, and I call this. So what I'm able to do is pierce the veil for people to have basically breakthrough of communication, higher self. But then here's the other side of the coin: is you've got to also understand the dark force energies and the imposter energy. Who's communicating? What's communication? Where's it coming from? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with an individual or a group, and people have different experiences because when you call in what's in your highest good, it can be totally different than the other person that is having the same activation energy. You're calling in what's in your highest good, and so it's really, really common for people, on webinars and phone and whatnot, to experience very very noticeable tingling energies, all sorts of things happening alchemically. And the transformation is, and I say profound transformation because I have also been taught the ability to go to the origin of a wound, an origin of an issue, transmute the energy, and then you have the recall of it, but you don't have the trigger anymore.
Okay.
Right? So people will have profound transformation in that all of a sudden they can lunge forward. Their blocks are cleared, beliefs are dismantled and transmuted. Things that aren't right? Things that maybe have never served them, that they were indoctrinated with.
Right.
So it's really common for people to make life changes, like Victoria changed her name. She's 3 of my clients from way back then that literally did full-on name changes because of the essence of who they were bringing forward through changed.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. And so the changes and the transformations, and this is, so Scott and I are getting ready to launch a new show, and this is a Jasara activating sovereignty and prosperity and the betterment of humanity timeline. So we launched that on November 22nd.
Oh, cool.
And what that is, and this is a redo from a Jasara show, a GCR show that I launched in 11/22 in 2015. The significance of that date is JFK's murder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the significance of that is what he was standing for humanity, of bringing through prosperity.
Right. Right.
And the other part of that is that the Green-Hilton Agreement is what he was bringing forward, which was going to shift our prosperity for humanity and for the United States especially to away from the Federal Reserve. And the executive order for that was 11110, 1110. Now, Thursday of this week is 11/11,
Right.
2021, and I'm doing an 11/11 prosperity activation.
Right.
And Kathy is helping us get the word out for that. So please click on the link that she's providing.
Right.
So, okay, wait, no, do you have your?
No, it's
Okay. All right. So Kathy is supporting us to get this out. So let me go back to what we were just talking about. We are ready to create a compression point breakthrough. So the work that I've been doing for the last 10 years with individuals and with groups, we're now bringing this into, and there's a lot of people on the planet doing this work, to unify and to bring through prosperity. We have to have this compression point breakthrough for prosperity, because that is one of the ways, the biggest way, the enslavement matrix holds you in its grips.
Right.
So go ahead, what were you going to say?
Well, that and fear. I mean, this is basically, it's one thing to say, yes, we're in a new matrix, yes, but then if you have any scarcity, your house, your livelihood, your house,
Right.
that creates fear. So we're it's interesting. We're in this in between period where we really don't know how to get to that new world. So what you're giving us is the staircase, step by step, to follow to get there, that is available, and it's inexpensive. The 11/11 prosperity activation is only $22.
Yeah.
Everybody can afford that, and you can. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is then with the activation, and this is what my private clients do, is they utilize that recording as an ongoing activation, because this is not a one-shot deal, right? I spent 1.5 years living out of my motorhome, going through alchemical transformation, up-leveling. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew I was making changes and my consciousness was changing, and I was having all this new insight and wisdom. And that's another thing. Many people you're not engaging in your wisdom. You're not engaging with the insight, that because so much of what's circulating out there in the world of news or intel is it's either disinformation or it's fact-based, but you're not necessarily engaging. So we want you to re-engage your insight and your wisdom.
Right.
And then the other aspect of this with the 11/11 is that this compression point breakthrough is, and it's going to be ongoing. This is going to be for the next However, interesting, Victoria just texted me the other day, and she realized that there's between 11:11 and I think it was 12:12. I think it's 40 days.
Yeah.
And so how many times is 40 days, 40 nights referenced in that big book?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
In different life experiences. So we are very much going to be focusing every day right now. So we're also about to launch. So we launched the show in honor of JFK and the Green Hilton Agreement, bringing the unified prosperity and that compression point breakthrough. We're also launching this membership that I did years ago before Scott and I knew each other. I had an I Am an Awakening Academy.
Okay.
But this time, we're doing it. It's all based in sovereignty, prosperity, freedom, unifying, strategizing. And the funny thing is, Kathy, and I don't think you know this, years ago, back in 2015, I got the guidance to start referring to the things that we were doing as people's GPS.
Perfect.
And you just said about, you're guiding people. So that is what we're doing. We are referencing this as the GPS through this transition.
Perfect.
So that you can activate so many people come to me, they go, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my life purpose is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's activate it. Let's clear out all the stuff that is holding you, that's a part of the muck of the old paradigm. Transmute that and then dismantle. And then also I got yesterday is that we're supporting people because we've consciously dismantled from that matrix.
Right.
We're established. So consciously dismantling from that matrix, it's like conscious parenting. It's like conscious divorce, right? When people divorce, it's like conscious divorce. It's like you're doing it in a very conscious way. So we want to dismantle from that old paradigm and become masterful in who we are as our soul matrix destiny.
Perfect. Well, it seems as though what we're doing is the truth is being revealed. All along, I've always been told the truth will be revealed. The truth
Yeah.
will be revealed. And
Yes.
then if you reconnect with who you really are, I mean, seriously, this is the opportunity that I believe the whole galaxy is watching, the universes are watching, because we are transcending the matrix and ascending embodied.
Yeah.
So no longer do you have to die and go back to source in order to have these transcendent experiences. Now you can have them embodied and be the
Activate
light.
light body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And we have a ways to go before that. And that is so, but what's important here too is what is about to, I believe the next couple of months are going to be incredibly tumultuous. And this is where it's really important for people to stabilize your foundation. And that means everything from grounding to meditate, whatever you do to not be in fear, to be in a vibration of joy, in a vibration of hope, in a vibration of excitement, right? And co-creating. And so through these next couple of months, also unifying, right? I don't think this is going to be a time to be isolated.
Right. Right.
Out of isolation. Now is going to be a time for people to really unify. One of my mottos for the last year or so has been, it's time to unify, organize, strategize, and execute.
Perfect.
Right. And so coming together, and if you have a down moment, don't hesitate to reach out to somebody and and create community in a way that you can reach out and say, hey, you know what? Can you just remind me that this isn't all bad? Right?
Can you take the hindsight view, please? Well, it isn't all bad, but we are going to have to have a lot of disruption in order to bring in the new. But if we can keep in mind that this is the gift of all of this, is the evolution of our species. I mean, Barbara Marx Hubbard, a lot of futurists talked about universal human. They talked about all sorts of ways that people were going to upgrade and change so that the telepathy was possible. Well, at this point, with the distortions, it's not possible yet. There's telepathy with your higher self and maybe angels, guides, all of the beings that you may work with. But as far as human telepathy, it's a handful of people that are clear enough.
Yeah. It takes a lot to not be, and this is one of my what do you call it? Well, issues is how many charlatans are out there, and I don't mean that in a judgmental way, but people that are thinking that they are communicating with angels and guides, and it's really imposter energy because they actually haven't done the work to identify the infiltration energy. Now, the other thing too is that so it's really important that that your what you just said in regards to distortions.
Right.
Those distortions have been this is another thing. Don't become a victim to this, but understand the distortions that have been and the inversions that have been implemented into the matrix and into the world, and even in you can identify it in your close relationships with friends and family. Those distortions, you have to understand, are part of the things that are there to actually mess you up, right?
Well, or to see where the blocks still are. The triggers are a gift, really.
Yeah,
They are to let you know you still got something there.
exactly, exactly. I wanted to share something else. I just looked down at my notes because I scribbled a few notes before we started.
Uh-huh.
And Scott, my husband, and I actually have, and this is where you brought up about being the solution. And I honestly feel at this point, and I've been saying this for about a year now, but at this point, there's no more sitting on the fence. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And if you're not proactively engaging in your own, let's say spiritual relationship with yourself, and if you're not engaging in co-creating and starting to laying the foundation for this new world that is emerging, then you are part of the problem. And so one of the things, and I say that lovingly because I know a lot of people are sitting in fear and they don't know what to do.
Right, right.
So one of the things that Scott and I are very excited about is we launched a new company back in September and that's why we have all these different, things here on the backdrop, which normally we'd have a whole set up, but a bunch of our stuff is in storage down in Orange County. But we launched a new business called, where is it here? We the People. Oh, we can't even see it. Here, We the People PMA Power. And what that is, and we have affiliate programs for everything that we're doing because we really want to bring people in to create prosperity and create ways for them to create prosperity, right? So We the People PMA Power is our conscious business of being a private membership association. And this is something huge that I think is going to be one of those solutions when once 1,000 to 1,000,000, and that's a big number, big jump,
Uh-huh.
businesses, let's just say 1,000,000 businesses come on board as becoming restructuring to be a PMA, you completely change your jurisdiction out of the overreaching government right now. That's a whole nother conversation, but I just wanted to share that because it is one of the solutions I believe that is going to significantly shift how we are engaging as we the people and how the government can no longer, when you become a PMA, have their fingers in your pie, in your business in any way. It completely is a game changer.
Yeah, we should do another conversation on that because
It's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, no, because I want to learn more. I mean, I don't know enough to even talk about it.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just, and here's the thing is that I'm dropping it in here because as soon as we learned about it last 3-4 months ago, what we already had so much going on, but I was like, we can't not do this. We can't not support anchor this as one of the solutions in our solutions of our suite of solutions, right? So we actually have GPS as another acronym that acronym we were using it for the Global Prosperity Solutions.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I
So,
love that.
thank you.
Yeah,
And actually Victoria came up with that when I told her about the GPS. This was just last week. We're like, oh, okay, is that okay if we use that? And we're going to, our whole GPS thing is building out in several different ways.
that's so exciting. Well, that's why I wanted people to know about this and to know about your 1111 meditation that is available at transcendthematrix.com. And uh, it will be recorded. You can get the recording. So there's no reason not to do it. Even if you're busy, you can watch it later and use it as a tool as you start to change your frequency, because
Yep.
it takes a village. It really does. This
Yeah.
is what we're doing is this lockdown period actually allowed a lot of us to find each other
Yeah.
and to have the guts to start talking about the stuff
Yeah.
and decide that no, that's not the world we want to create.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep, it's a lot, and I do acknowledge what you're saying. A lot of people have stepped forward with courage and have become more confident. And this is a really important time. This another thing that we're doing is new global leader summits, and this is a really important time for people to step forward in leadership. We need leaders that are absolutely committed to this world shifting into a timeline that really is for the betterment of humanity.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm looking on Facebook, and Victoria Reynolds has been on, and she says Deb's activation completely shifted my life in every conceivable way. I'm not even the same person I was in 2010 when we met, and I met her right after that, and I could
You
see.
right after that. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. So no, but I saw, see, I because of what I've known since I was a little girl, I saw who she was um at that event and bonded, and we stayed friendly the whole time. So
Awesome.
yeah. So it's been fun to watch. That's why I said I haven't had an experience with you, but I've watched your work in process, and it's amazing. And this is, this may be for leaders. It may be for the ones that really have to get visible so that people can find them because they're the new teachers. They're the new truth tellers. They're the people
Make
that
sure.
yeah, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, because trust is going to be once all of this information is available, a lot of people are going to be so disoriented because of what they've been taught and what they accepted. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. It's just time for a change.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you.
This
So once again,
conversation.
let's make sure that everyone knows how to get a hold of you, since we've talked about a few things, but we really want people to go to Transcend the Matrix, right?
Yeah, that's that for right now. That's the main website. So it's transcendthematrix.com. The 1111 activation is at 4 o'clock on Thursday. And even if you, for that specific standard time, and it is a webinar. So there's Scott and I will be there visibly. We're going to go through a lot of different things and really focus on prosperity. And if you can't be there live, then yep, engage with the recording.
Right.
Luck
this is the time for you to, I want everyone to know, I mean, you are so much more powerful than you know.
That's right.
And this is the, as we talked about, the GPS, the map, the opportunity to start opening up those facets of you that you'll be so delighted on the other side. Right
Yeah.
now, everything may seem confusing and very heavy, but the lightness of being and the joyfulness of life is,
It's coming.
it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right here and it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Okay.
need to get through the eye of the storm.
Okay, so once again, is there any other way besides the website for them to reach you?
Well, honestly, right now that's the best way because and sign up for the email. I'm not even on social media right now. Not even doing that right now. So I would say for the moment, and then as we roll things out, because 11 we'll let the show is only 2 weeks away that we're starting, right? And then the membership site with all of that is only 2 weeks away. So the best way to get it to stay in touch is to via email. And then once we get the social media stuff up and going, then we'll have that as well.
Well, there are, Deb and Scott have a good audience on Transcend the Matrix. I've been on some calls and people say, "How did we find you? How did we find you?" And there, you've got some loyal fans. So
Years we haven't been in the public for years at a time. Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing actually. I'm
yes.
blessed.
It's wonderful. So, well, thank you so much for joining us here. And again, this is Conscious Business Zone. So, this is an opportunity for conscious business people to really up the game and have more tools that'll really serve them during all these changing times. So, thank you so much,
And
Deb.
Kathy, thank you for what you're doing, supporting conscious business. It's really important.
Yes, I think it's the fastest way to turn the ship. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay. Well,
Much love.
thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.